All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are heading deep into the engine room of the Salesforce Service Console. We're talking about Omnichannel, which is basically the air traffic control system for your entire service center. But we're not just going to look at the out-of-the-box settings. Oh no, we are grabbing the full developer's toolkit to build some seriously powerful, custom integrations.
So if you're a developer, you know the feeling, right? You get stuck with these standard routing rules and they're just rigid. You need more flexibility, way more control, and you need logic that actually matches how your business works. Well, if that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break out of that box. So here's what's on deck. First, we'll talk about why you'd even want to go custom and take control of your agent workflow. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the core building blocks, the APIs. After that, we'll jump to the front end and master the console API. And then, we'll get to the really cool stuff, integrating external routing. And we'll wrap it all up with some pro tips to make sure everything you build is absolutely rock solid. Okay, so let's get right into it. Why bother with all this custom code? Well, because standard just doesn't cut it for a complex business. I mean, imagine routing a case from a VIP customer, not just to any agent, but to a top performer who speaks their language and has a perfect history with them. Or what about a case priority that needs to change on the fly because of an alert from an IoT device? That kind of smart routing requires you to move beyond just clicks and start writing some code. Now, before we can build the house, we gotta understand our materials. And in the omnichannel world, that means APIs. There are really two fundamental types that we need to get our heads around because they do very, very different things. Let's break them down.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. On the one hand, you've got API objects. Think of these as the live pieces on a chessboard, the actual work items moving around, the agents changing their status in real time. On the other hand, you have the metadata API. That's the blueprint. It defines the rules of the game itself, your queues, your present statuses, the whole structure, before a single piece ever moves.
And when we talk about those moving pieces, these three are the superstars. Pending service routing is basically a work item that's sitting in the digital waiting room. Agent work is that same item once it's actually been handed off to an agent. And the user service presence? That's the critical status update that tells you if an agent is even there to take the work. You are going to live and breathe these three objects.
All right, so we've got the back-end data model down. Let's shift gears to the front end, where the agent actually sees the magic happen. The API objects manage the data, sure, but the Lightning Console JavaScript API is how you directly control the agent's experience right inside their browser. This is where your custom logic really comes to life.
You can think of these methods as your own personal remote control for the agent screen. The agent doesn't even have to click a button. Your code can see a high-priority case pop in and, bam, automatically fire accept agent work. Or the second a call wraps up, you can use set service present status to make that agent available again instantly. It's all about automation and shaving precious seconds off every single interaction.
But here's the thing. It's not a one-way street. Your code doesn't just talk, it has to listen. When that work-assigned event fires, you can do way more than just show the case. You can trigger a screen pop with the customer's entire order history from another system. When status changed fires, you can kick off a timer to see exactly how long agents spend in after-call work. This is how you build a seriously intelligent console.
And you can see how it all fits together here in this beautiful little dance. A login method is called, which triggers a success event. Work gets assigned, which fires another event. The UI calls the accept method, which fires its own accepted event. You see? Understanding this call and response rhythm is absolutely key to creating complex and seamless agent experiences.
Okay, let's level up. What happens when your routing logic is so complex, so specialized, that it needs its own dedicated service? Maybe you've got a third-party AI engine making decisions. Well, guess what? Omnichannel has a killer pattern for plugging those external systems right in.
And at a high level, it's actually beautiful in its simplicity. It's just a loop. Step 1, Salesforce sees new work come in. Step 2, it basically shouts out an event notification to your external app. Step 3, your app hears it, runs all its fancy logic, and then makes a simple API call back to Salesforce that just says, hey, give this piece of work to Agent Jane.
So how does Salesforce shout out to your app? Well, the magic behind that is a technology called Change Data Capture, or CDC. It's kind of like subscribing to a real-time news feed for your Salesforce data. The very instant a new pending service routing record gets created, CDC broadcasts it, and your application just wakes up and gets to work.
But here is the most important part. You don't want to drink from the fire hose. You can't listen to every single change in Salesforce. You need to be specific. And that's where this filter expression is so critical. It's you telling Salesforce, look, don't even bother me unless the work is specifically flagged for external routing and it's actually ready to go.
And it's the same idea for tracking your agents. You need an efficient filter. This one is pretty clever, actually. It pings you when a new presence record is created. That's an agent logging in or changing their status. But it also pings you when a status is no longer current, which is what happens when they log out. So you always have a perfect, real-time snapshot of who's available with none of the extra noise.
So, your external app got the signal, it ran its complex decision-making process. Now what? What does it actually do? It performs one single critical action. It creates an agent work record back in Salesforce. That's it. That's the official instruction. Creating this one simple record is the magic command that assigns the work and makes it pop up on the agent screen.
And just look how ridiculously straightforward it is. This bit of Apex code says it all. You just create a new agent work object, you plug in the user ID for the agent, the work item ID for the case, and you insert it. Boom, done. Your external system just routed a work item inside Salesforce. It's that simple.
Now, building all this is one thing, but making it truly robust and reliable is a whole other ballgame. So let's go over a few essential tips, some best practices and troubleshooting tricks to make sure your custom integration runs like a well-oiled machine.
Okay, listen up, because this is probably the single most important rule of all. Do not mix your routing models for the same agent. Don't have them getting work from a standard Omni queue and your external system. Why? Because the two systems have no idea what the other one is doing when it comes to capacity, and you'll just overload and burn out your agent. Keep it clean. One agent, one routing model. Period. So here's a scenario that keeps developers up at night. Your external app goes down for a minute. What happens to the work that came in during that outage? Did you just lose it forever? No. The streaming API has this amazing feature called durability. It lets you literally ask Salesforce, hey, what did I miss in the last few minutes? And it'll replay those events for you. This is absolutely critical for building a resilient system. And finally, you have to test, and then test again. And when you're done, test some more. Your logic has to handle every possible curveball. What happens if the agent declines the work? What if they just ignore it and it times out? What if they try to transfer it? Thinking through every single one of these paths is what separates a cool demo from a bulletproof, production-ready system. So let's boil it all down. The key takeaway is this. Salesforce gives you all the Lego bricks you need. You've got the API objects for the data, you've got the console events for the front-end experience, and you've got powerful integration patterns like CDC. You have everything you need to build a routing workflow that is perfectly tuned to your business.
We've covered the tools, the architecture, the best practices. The days of being stuck with a one-size-fits-all approach, they're over. So now you have the keys to the kingdom. The only question left is, what are you going to build first?